This lesson is going to focus on how to analyze poetry. For our do now, we are going to first start by reviewing figurative language. Figurative language is often a part of poetry. Please, in your do now, label it 1 through 6 and try to match up the descriptions with the types of figurative language that we've reviewed this year. Please hit pause, and then when you are done matching up the description with the type of figurative language, hit play again. All right, so here are your correct answers. Please go ahead and check yours. Here it says, my heart skipped 1,000 beats when he looked into my eyes. We know that this is a hyperbole or an over-exaggeration because your heart really isn't skipping 1,000 beats. You might have even said that this was personification because your heart cannot skip. The second one is, the world is a wedding. Here we're making a direct comparison between two things, saying that the world is a wedding. Our next example is, every computer whispers its secrets. We know that computers cannot whisper, and we know that personification deals with giving a object human characteristics. Our next example is, and the bubbling seaweeds as the water goes, swish to and fro. This is an onomatopoeia because we hear the sound word of swish. Our next example was a simile. Here it says, Eva's eyes are as glassy as marbles. Here we know that this is a comparison that's using like or as, so here we have a simile. And then our final one is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a sound. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter. So we hear that flung, flirt, and flutter noise being repeated. All right, so what we're going to start by doing is we're going to start reviewing some strategies to help us understand poetry. So in order to better understand poetry, first you need to paraphrase. So this means that you need to put the lines in your own words. To paraphrase, what we do is you should make it short. So make whatever you're reading shorter. You should use the words that you understand and keep the main idea. But it's really important that you keep this main idea and you put it in your own words. We're going to practice that here in a little bit. The second thing that you want to try to do is you want to try to relate the poem to life or real world experiences. This will help you understand the author's message. So let's do some practice with this poem, I Jump Field. Please go ahead and grab the worksheet that looks very similar to this. So what we're going to start by doing is in the column titled Paraphrase, we will work together to paraphrase each stanza to help us understand the poem better. What I'd like for you to do is I'd like you to go ahead and pause this video and read the poem to yourself. Once you have read the poem to yourself, please restart the video and we will go through and work on paraphrasing together. All right, so you've already read the poem once, which you always need to do, and then go back and paraphrase it. So our first stanza says, some people like sprinting, there's no time for thinking, all out, point to point in a dash. So if I was going to put this in my own words but keep the main idea, I would say something like, sprinting is fast and requires no thought. Here I see sprinting, I see the word dash, which gives me that idea of fast, and then requires no thought is no time for thinking. Our next stanza, the pistol shot start, the lurch of your heart, one burst and you're done in a flash. Here I paraphrase this to mean a gunshot starts the race, heart beats quickly. So here we know the pistol shot start, so that's the gun that starts the track races. A lurch of your heart, meaning that your heart is beating really quickly, and you're done in a flash. So I might even add here, or I have that right here, the word quickly, but that deals with my heart, not that the race is done quickly. So I might add that the race goes fast. And sorry for this poor handwriting on this little marker, guys. All right, our next stanza. Some prefer distance, the pure perseverance, when you cannot go on, but you do. So you can't give up on a distance race even when it gets hard. So here we know that some people prefer the distance, and that even when it gets really tough, that you've got to keep going. And we know that word perseverance really well from our core values. Our next stanza. Lap after lap, try to break from the pack, but in the end, it's the stopwatch and you. So you try to get ahead of others. You want to get the fastest time. So here is this lap after lap, you try to break from the pack. That's the idea, that you're trying to get ahead of the other people. But in the end, it's just the stopwatch in you. This is that idea of the fastest time. At the end, it doesn't matter who you beat. All that matters is that you have your quickest time. It's your personal achievement. So let's read this next stanza, and then I want you to try paraphrasing this on your own before I reveal what I've already done. What I like is jumping, the launching and leaping, the way my whole body sails. So if you were going to keep the main idea and put this in your own words, what would you write? Please do that on your worksheet right now. All right. Did you write that this author likes, or this narrator likes to jump? That's pretty much exactly what they're saying here, and all the kind of different ways that they like jumping. Let's try it again with our next stanza. Suspended in air, I'm loose from my cares. For a moment, gravity fails. Again, keep the main idea and put it in your own words. What is the author saying here? The author is saying that they feel free in the air, that they don't have any cares, any worries, that they feel good when they're up in the air. Let's try again with our next stanza. There are those who like throwing, the spinning and heaving, then watching the arc of the toss. So this stanza is basically saying that some prefer shot put and discus. So we know shot put is throwing, and then we know that discus is that spinning and heaving and watching the arc of the toss. Our next stanza. While the hurdler's decision is to strive for precision to clear hurdles without a step lost. Go ahead and paraphrase, keeping the main idea and putting this in your own words. So here, a hurdle must not knock down a hurdle. A hurdler must not knock down a hurdle. So here, they have to be perfect with their decisions, with their jumps, to not lose a step. So here in our next stanza, we see the author, or the narrator, making their own point. But still, I like jumping, both the long and the high, the secrets of flying revealed. So here, the narrator is just saying, I like to jump long and high. And then, in our next stanza, do you run track? I'm often asked. No, I reply, I jump field. So here, what is the author saying? Well, the author is pretty much just saying that they jump. They don't run, but they do the jumping events. All right, so if we continue with our analysis of poetry, we have first paraphrased. Now what we have to do is we have to analyze for a life meaning. So we will work together to deeply analyze each stanza and relate it to life to help us better understand the poem. All right, so let's go ahead and analyze this poem and relate it to life or real-world experiences. So if we look at that first stanza, it says, some like sprinting, there's no time for thinking, all out, point to point, and a dash. So we might be able to say from this stanza that some people like to go through life quickly without really thinking. Okay? On this next stanza, we don't really going to see how this relates to real life. Here we're talking about just the start of the race. So it says some prefer distance, the pure perseverance, when you cannot go on, but you do. So this last stanza was talking about, the two previous stanzas were talking about sprinting and how people can quickly go through life. While on the other hand, some people like to kind of take the longer route in life, and they don't give up when times are so hard. They keep actually going through. Our next stanza is lap after lap, try to break from the pact, but in the end, it's the stopwatch in you. So we can relate this to life by saying that you can try to be more successful than other people in life, and you can try to make things a competition. But in reality, your ultimate goal should be doing your actual best and competing to the best of your abilities. Our next stanza is what I like is jumping, the launching and leaping the whole way my body sails. So there are times to take risk and feel free. It's important that as we go through this journey of life, that we find things that we enjoy that make us feel free. Here the next stanza is suspended in the air, I'm loose from my cares, for a moment gravity fails. So there are events that help you to feel carefree, to make you feel like you're not concerned with the worries of the world, and it's important to find those things throughout our life. Our next stanza, there are those who like throwing, the spinning and heaving, then watching the arc of the toss. So based on what we've already talked about in regards to how people go through different ways in life, some people quickly go through events or through adventures, and other people kind of take their time and persevere through it. How it's important to make sure that you are doing your personal best. It's important how you find the things that you enjoy. What is this next stanza really saying? There are those who like throwing, spinning, heaving, then watching the arc of the toss. Go ahead and try writing that down on your worksheet. Well, what this means is there's some people that compete in different events. Now, specifically here, they're talking about discus, but we know that in life, what they're referring to here is just that there are people that like to do different events. There are different events that make people feel like they're taking risk and feeling free. There are different events that are making people feel like they don't have to worry. Our next stanza goes, while the hurdler's decision is to strive for precision to clear hurdles without a step lost. So go ahead and try to relate this stanza to real world. So what they may be saying here is that some thoughts or some decisions have to be thought out and accurate. And we know that depending on what kind of event that you're doing or what kind of situation you're in, sometimes you're going to have to be more focused. You have to be more accurate. And this directly relates to how the hurdler, their job in track is to be very accurate, thought out, where that may not be the case in some other of the track events. And then finally, the author goes on to say, but still I like jumping, both the long and high, the secrets of flying revealed. Go ahead and try to refer or connect this to real world or real life. Okay, it may be something that there are unknown joys in different events. So here she gets this joy, the secrets of flying are revealed to her. So she gets this joy through this different event. And it's important to remember that not everybody is going to have the same joys from these events. And then our final stanza. Do you run track? I'm often asked. No, I reply, I jump field. Go ahead and try to relate this to the real world. So here, we might say it's important to express to others what you enjoy doing. So what do you like to do? It's important in life that we understand where our joys come from, that we understand where we feel free and carefree, and that we can express those to other people. So as you can see that this poem, although it may seem that it's just about track or specifically about jumping, there's a lot more to this poem than just jumping. It actually has a lot of life meaning behind it. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through and we're going to review some sort of map-like questions because you guys know you will be taking the map test next week. So go ahead and number your sheet 1 through 5 and go ahead and answer this question and pause the video, answer the question, and then once you have answered it, restart the video. All right, so here they're asking us what the word of precision means. So while the hurdler's decision is to strive for precision to clear hurdles without a step lost. So I know they're talking about here to clear the hurdles, so that they have to be very, not so much concerned with speed, somewhat with height, not the distance, but the hurdler needs to be very exact with their decision so that they can clear the hurdle without a lost step. Now, a good strategy to use for this is to replace that word and see with your new definition and see if that makes sense. So while the hurdler's decision is to strive for exactness to clear hurdles without a lost step. Absolutely, that makes sense. All right, please go ahead and read this question to yourself. Pause the video, answer it, and restart it once you've answered the question. So the question is asking us, what does the stopwatch symbolize? So I have to think about, okay, what's the bigger picture here? And that's, we've hopefully kind of figured that out through the analysis of our poem that we did together. So it says, lap after lap, try to break from the pact, but in the end, it's just the stopwatch in you. So is the stopwatch running the final lap? Is it watching the clock, feeling defeated, or doing your personal best? We know when we're talking about symbolism that we're looking really at that bigger picture, how it goes outside the actual story, or in this case, outside the poem. So we know that that stopwatch represents the idea of actually doing your very best. So that correct answer would be D. All right, go ahead and answer questions 3 and 4, and then pause the video and restart it when you have answered the questions. All right, so the poet uses a rapid, choppy rhythm in lines 1 through 6 to show. Now, hopefully what you did is you went back to the text to look at 1 through 6, so let me do that. 1 through 6, lines 1 through 6 are our first 2 stanzas, so I always read it to myself again. Some people like sprinting, there's no time for thinking, all out point to point, in a dash, the pistol shot start, the lurch of your heart, one burst, and you're done in a flash. So I can definitely tell how that's very choppy, it's very quick. So what does that probably demonstrate? What does that illustrate to us as the reader? Does it show us that sprinting's difficult? I know sprinting's difficult, I can infer that, but I don't see that through rapid, choppy rhythm. While sprinters are not good jumpers, doesn't refer to jumpers. How quickly sprinters finish a race? Well, it makes sense. The rhythm was very rapid, very quick. But let me check D, that she dislikes sprinting. I don't see the author's or the narrator's viewpoint in here at all. So I know that C is going to be my correct answer. 4 is asking us what's the mood of the poem. So what's the overall idea? Is it serious, uptight, mysterious, sad? Well, our narrator doesn't seem to be very sad. Also, the narrator's not mysterious. They come out and tell us exactly how they're feeling. They don't seem rude or uptight, so I would say that serious is going to be our best answer. All right, I earlier told you to number till 5. Go ahead and add number 6 on there. Please answer these 2 questions, pause the video, and then start it back up once you've answered them. All right, 5 is asking us, you can tell the speaker of the poem believes that sprinting is inferior to other track events, feels bad for not having the speed for sprinting, appreciates several track and field events but prefers jumping, and does not respect hurdlers or sprinters. I definitely think throughout this poem we see the appreciation, we see where the author values the person that does discus or the person that sprints, but they time and time again say that they love to jump. So C is going to be our best answer. And 6, in what ways does jumping differ from other track and field events described in the poem? Jumping is a race against the clock. Jumping is less thrilling. Jumping creates a sense of flying. Jumping requires no skill. Well, I know that jumping is not a race against the clock, so I'm going to exit that. I'm going to put an X over there. Eliminate that answer. Jumping requires no skill. Absolutely not true. Any sort of athletic event is going to require some sort of skill. Jumping is less thrilling. That's really a personal opinion, and from the events that are described in the poem, according to our narrator, jumping is very thrilling. But the narrator does say that jumping creates a sense of flying. And if I was going to go back to the poem, here she says, in these stanzas, the way my body sails, suspended in air, I am loose from my cares. That shows us that jumping creates that sense of flying. All right, so what you are now going to do is you are going to go through some poetry stations yourself. You're going to cycle through these stations with your partner. And actually, you're not going to do this with a partner. You're going to do this independently. And you're going to complete the activities and questions at each station on the back of your iJump Field poetry analysis worksheet. You're going to see 4 different stations. The first station is on the poem Winter Nights. The next one is on the poem Most Valuable Player. And then the next station deals with a poem that relates to imagination, and then a poem that relates to friendship. When you are done with these stations, you can go ahead and read independently, and I'll come over and talk to you.